Hi, I'm Mark and I've been asked to talk to you a little bit about the COP26 documentary filmmaking challenge over in Nepal. I'm a filmmaker and a theatre practitioner over here in the UK. I live in Somerset, in the glorious countryside, about 100 miles south of London. I've got chickens, I've got a dog, and I like a little bit of gardening. When I can find the time and the weather's right and it's not raining. I'm going to talk to you a little bit about some tips on presenter-led documentary filmmaking. So you're going to be making a documentary for the COP26 environmental conference, which is taking place in Glasgow here in the UK. So the subject matter of your documentary needs to be loosely based around climate change or the environment or man's impact on the environment. So within that you can make a documentary about any subject matter, and we're going to talk about that a little bit later on. There's lots of different ways to make a documentary. You can get lots of tips from the Interfilm resource that you'll have a link to, but today I'm going to talk to you about presenter-led documentaries. The advantages of that are that you can connect with the presenter, hopefully, and that they can literally take you through the subject matter scene by scene, and you see them experiencing it and giving their opinions directly to camera. You can also interview people that have something to say about the subject, which is quite useful. So the first thing to do is you have to choose who's going to be your presenter. The obvious choice is for you to present the film yourself. You know why you're making the film, and you've probably got strong opinions about the subject matter. But you might be more interested in the camera work and the nuts and bolts of making the film. So feel free to use a friend of yours to be the presenter, or even a member of your family, a brother or sister. It's probably best if it's a young person presenting, as this is a young person's film challenge. Whoever you choose, whether it's yourself or a friend or whoever, it's good if they are passionate, if they're engaging and confident when they're presenting to the camera, so that the points that you're trying to make are clear and precise. It's good if they can speak clearly and loud enough, obviously, for the microphone to be able to pick you up. Make sure that they're dressed appropriately.
I'm going to speak to you about pandas.
Don't speak too quickly, because if you speak too quickly and you're too passionate and you've got lots of things to say all at once, it can get confusing and we can't take it in. So take your time. Don't spend too long, however, otherwise your film may take an hour. Think about what you're going to say in advance. You don't necessarily have to make an exact script of everything you're going to say, but do think through it and possibly have a practice of it before you get in front of the camera to save yourself time. If you're using a phone or a tablet to make your film, we recommend that you film in landscape format like this. You can, if you want, film in portrait, but whatever you choose, make sure you stick to it and don't swap between the two. By far the best device to use for stability is the tripod. If you're using a tablet, a monopod works really well. And my tip for a phone is to use a selfie stick as a monopod for stability. If you're filming handheld, make yourself as steady as possible by using your body as a tripod. Keep your feet apart and bring your elbows into your body and try and stay as still as you can. try and find something to lean against to give you stability, like a wall or a tree. So the next thing to do is to decide on your subject for your film. As I've said, it's an environmental conference, and therefore the subject matter needs to be loosely based around the environment or climate change or the human race's impact on the environment and the planet. Now, having said that, you can make your film about absolutely anything within that context. What I would say is try and make it relevant to you, possibly following your personal experiences. Make it easy on yourself so that you don't choose something which is going to be difficult to film, like, as an example, the polar ice caps melting, which means you have to go up to the Arctic and wrestle with polar bears and avoid all the penguins and all that sort of stuff. Choose a subject that is close to home, you'll be able to find lots of material nearby that is relevant to the subject. You can interview people, your friends, your family, neighbours, about that subject that you're talking about. So make it easier on yourself. Here's a few examples. So I've decided that the subject for my documentary is going to be single-use plastics, and specifically drinks bottles. So let's see if we can find where some of those plastic bottles end up in the environment. Follow me. Right. So, here in the river where one of the trees is fallen over, you can see that there's lots of plastic and waste has got caught here in the river. There's loads of bottles in there, there's a football, a bag of rubbish, and it all gets washed down through the river. Further up it just looks like a pristine river, but where it clogs here, it just looks like a rubbish dump. Try and use all the different types of shots within your film. So it's not just all one type of shot. So use wide shots like this to establish where the film is set and the different environments, and gives lots of information. The mid shot, which is from the head to the waist, which is really good for presenter-led documentary. And even the close-up for those really detailed shots. You can also use moving shots, like the pan from left to right or from right to left. Keep it as smooth as you can and try and keep your subject in the middle of your frame. Or you could try a tilt, top to bottom or bottom to top. Nice and steady. Don't cut their heads off. Don't show too much sky. Have them in the middle of the frame, in 1/3 or the other third of the frame. One thing it's really important to do is to make sure that your presenter doesn't forget that they've got to play a Victorian character halfway through the shoot and cut their beard accordingly. It's all about continuity. Think about where your light source is. If your light source is behind your presenter, like this, then your presenter will appear dark and you won't see their face. So it's important that the light source that you have, whether it's the sun or whether it's indoor lighting, is behind the camera facing your presenter. But then if the sun is really strong, look out for shadows on the face of your presenter. Try and keep the background noise down to a minimum. Otherwise, it's quite difficult to hear what the presenter is saying. Shh. Choose a quiet location. If you can, try and get hold of an external microphone to use for your film, so that you can hear the presenter clearly, and it allows you to move further away from the camera itself. If you can't get hold of a microphone and you have to use the microphone embedded into your device itself, make sure your presenter is always close to your camera. Otherwise, as they move further away, the volume gets quieter and quieter until you can't hear anything at all. Once you've outlined the subject matter of your film, you might want to back this up with some facts. Make sure that your facts are accurate and always mention the source, where you got them from. Excuse me, I couldn't help noticing you're drinking from a plastic bottle. Can I ask you a couple of questions?
Sure.
Why do you buy drinks in plastic bottles?
Because they're cheap and they're easier to carry around than a metal heavy bottle.
And what's going to happen to it afterwards?
I'll find a bin if I can.
If you can, offer a possible solution to the problem that you've raised. People could use more reusable containers for their water or for their hot drinks. Councils and governments could provide more water refill sites in public places. Cheers. Take a moment to explain the benefits of the actions that you've suggested on the environment and the world in general. For instance, using reusable containers means less resources are used to make non-reusable containers, and less waste ends up going into rivers in the countryside and creating pollution in the oceans. So what can you do personally to help the situation? I've decided that I'm going to give away reusable bottles and cups as presents. Hi, happy birthday!
Thank you.
Most of you will be editing your film on your device, on your phone or your tablet using an editing app. We'll send you a link with some of the editing apps that we recommend. Keep it simple. Do the bare minimum to tell your story in the most effective way. Don't use too many transitions. Make sure you fade in and fade out at the end. It's a good idea to use some sort of music for your film. If you can, you might want to make your own music to go with it. Remember, you can't just chuck any old music onto it. It has to be royalty free. So we will also send you links to some places where you can get royalty free music for your film. So I hope this has given you some tips on your documentary filmmaking, and I look forward to seeing your films. Good luck.